Have you ever, tried to manage a group project where 50 people are editing the exact same Google Doc at the exact same time?
Oh, it's a nightmare. I mean, someone deletes a crucial paragraph, someone else changes the font, and it's just,
It just descends into absolute chaos within, what, 5 minutes?
yeah, exactly. It's the classic problem of scale, really.
Yeah.
You want everyone to contribute, but without central governance, you just end up with a mess.
Right. Now take that chaos and multiply it by 1,000, and you basically have the reality of enterprise digital architecture.
Oh, absolutely.
We are talking about global brands managing thousands of web pages, millions of digital assets, and dozens of regional teams all over the world.
Mm.
To manage that, they use platforms like Adobe Experience Manager or AEM.
And when you step into that world, you're the one responsible for keeping that massive ecosystem from just, well, collapsing.
Which is a lot of pressure, and it requires a very specific set of skills, right? It's not just knowing the software.
No, not at all. It's really about understanding the business logic behind it.
Exactly. Which brings us to our mission for this deep dive. For you listening, we are cracking open the practice materials for a very crucial certification today. We're looking at the AD0-E121 exam.
Right, the ultimate test for an AEM business practitioner.
Yeah. And our sources today focus entirely on the key technical concepts and the assessment metrics you need to pass this exam, which, by the way, also build on some of those foundational AB 100 standards that you might already be familiar with.
Yeah, that's a great point. And to just, set the stage for you, let's look at how the AD0-E121 exam is actually structured.
Okay, let's hear
So
it.
it's broken into 4 distinct domains. You've got education, which makes up about 22% of the test. Then architecture is 24%.
Right.
Setup and implementation is 16%. But the lion's share, the part that really tests your problem-solving logic, is business analysis, which comes in at a massive 38%.
Wow, 38%. Because it's never just about knowing which button to click, is it?
No, it's about knowing why you are clicking it to solve a very specific client problem.
Exactly. So here's our approach today. We're going to tackle 10 specific scenarios straight from the practice materials. But we aren't just going to give you the answer key.
Right. That wouldn't be very helpful.
No. For each scenario, we'll lay out the 4 choices the exam gives you, and we're going to completely deconstruct the logic behind them.
Because in these exams, understanding exactly how the wrong options function is usually where the real learning actually happens.
Totally. Okay, let's unpack this. We're going to organize these 10 questions by theme, starting at, the macro level with content syndication and tag governance.
A great place to start.
So let's look at the first big hurdle the exam throws at you, which is balancing global control with local flexibility. Here is the question stem.
Go for it.
Imagine a company needs to synchronize content across multiple global regions, but the local teams still need the ability to modify specific sections of a page without losing the global updates for the rest of that page.
Right. The central tension of global versus local. It comes up all the time.
Exactly. So the exam gives you 4 tools to choose from. Option A is a language copy. Option B is a live copy with inheritance cancellation. Option C is content fragments with variations. And option D is manual page duplication.
Okay, so
Actually, if I'm a local team, my gut instinct is just option D. Just duplicate the page manually, make my edits, and move on. Why is that a trap?
it's a huge trap because you're thinking short term. I mean, if you manually duplicate the page, you sever the technical tie to the global source completely.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, you've essentially created an island. So if the global corporate team updates, say, a vital legal disclaimer or changes a core product image next month, your manual copy doesn't receive that update.
And islands lead to outdated, non-compliant content.
Exactly. So D is definitely out.
Okay, well, what about option A, a language copy? Because that sounds like it's meant for global sites, right?
It is, but language copies are specifically designed for translation workflows. It creates a static copy of the content that you package up and send off to translators.
Yeah.
It doesn't maintain that live, dynamic, structural link that we need for ongoing layout updates. And option C, content fragments, is a great feature, but we're talking about synchronizing entire web pages here, not just chunks of raw text.
Right, which leaves us with option B, live copy with inheritance cancellation.
Exactly. This relies on AEM's multi-site manager. A live copy maintains a continuous link to the global source, but the magic phrase here is inheritance cancellation.
That's what gives the local team their flexibility, right?
Yes, they can select one specific component on their page, let's say a promotional banner, and cancel the inheritance just for that one single component.
Oh, wow.
So they change the banner to a local holiday promo, but the rest of the page, like the headers, the legal text, the product grids, they all still inherit updates from global.
I love this. It's exactly like a franchise restaurant.
Oh.
Yeah, the corporate office designs the main menu, and every local branch gets those updates automatically. But the local branch can, like, cancel the inheritance on their specials board to write their own local dishes.
That is a perfect analogy. It's the ideal balance of power. They get the safety of central governance, but the freedom of local customization.
Okay, so that solves the actual structural content. But what about the underlying organization? The metadata.
Great, tags.
Yeah, which leads us right into question 9. It's a similar governance problem, but with tags. So here's the stem. Imagine an enterprise where the finance department should only see and use tags from the financial services taxonomy. Meanwhile, the retail department should only see retail tags.
Keep them separated.
Right. The 4 choices are A, tag cloud, B, folder metadata, C, global search filters, or D, tag permissions.
What's fascinating here is how often large organizations overlook this exact issue until their internal search is completely broken.
Really? Because looking at these options, my gut says to just use option C, global search filters. Just filter the finance tags out of the retail team's view. I mean, if they can't see it, they can't use it, right?
You would think so,
Yeah.
but why bother with hard tag permissions when a filter works?
Yeah, exactly.
Because a search filter is just a cosmetic convenience. It hides things when you're actively searching, but it doesn't actually prevent a retail author from manually navigating into the finance tags.
Wait, they can just click through the folders?
Yes. And then they accidentally tag a new pair of sneakers with a 30-year fixed mortgage rate tag. I mean, it happens all the time.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that would completely ruin your analytics.
Completely. And option A, a tag cloud, is literally just a visual representation of frequently used tags. It does nothing for security.
Right.
Option B, folder metadata, applies rules to files within a specific folder, but it doesn't govern the global tagging taxonomy itself. So the correct answer just has to be option D, tag permissions.
Because that's a hard lock.
Exactly. By configuring hard permissions, you guarantee that different departments only have the system rights to interact with their relevant taxonomies. It stops that cross-departmental chaos at the root.
Okay, so our backend is strictly governed now. The global content is synced, the tags are locked down to the right people. But organizing the backend doesn't mean much if we can't deliver it to the end user. And our sources show that the entire strategy changes when we shift from traditional web pages to omni-channel delivery.
Yes. The shift to headless architecture. This is section 2.
Yes. Let's look at question 3. Here's the stem. An organization needs to deliver structured content to both a mobile app and a third-party smartwatch app simultaneously. And the key constraint here is they need to do this without managing the layout in AEM.
Because the smartwatch handles its own layout.
Exactly. So the 4 options are A, experience fragments, B, editable templates, C, multi-site manager, or D, content fragments.
The key concept to understand here is headless content delivery, which makes option D, content fragments, the correct answer.
Okay, headless is such a massive buzzword right now. Can you break down exactly how a content fragment achieves this?
Sure. Think of headless as literally chopping the head, the presentation layer, the design, the colors right off of your content.
Graphic, but helpful.
Right. The content fragment stores purely structured data, just the text, the raw numbers, maybe a URL pointing to an image. There is absolutely no layout attached to it.
So it's super light.
Incredibly lightweight. It's usually delivered as a simple JSON file over an API. I mean, a smartwatch has a tiny 1-inch screen and a totally different operating system. It does not want your website's heavy HTML or CSS.
It just wants the raw text.
Exactly, to display in its own native interface.
That makes total sense. Which means option B, editable templates, is entirely wrong because templates are, by definition, all about layout and structure.
Right.
And option C, multi-site manager, we already know is for managing full-site hierarchies. But here's where it gets really interesting. Let's flip that scenario entirely. What if we do care about the layout?
Let's look at the next problem, question 5.
Okay, the stem for question 5. A retailer wants to use a specific design element created in AEM, let's say a beautifully designed promotional banner across several different email marketing campaigns that are managed in a completely separate third-party tool. How do we export this? Options. A, export experience fragment to Adobe Target. B, convert content fragment to PDF. C, use the asset's HTTP API. Or D, standard page export.
This is a brilliant juxtaposition with the previous question because the correct answer here is A, export an experience fragment.
Okay, so contrast the experience fragment here with the content fragment we just used for the smartwatch.
Well, the content fragment had no design, right? But here, the STEM explicitly asks to preserve a specific design element. Experience fragments actually encapsulate the reusable content along with its visual design and layout.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, when a retailer puts a promotional banner in an email, they want it to look exactly the same as it does on their website. Experience fragments let you bundle the text, the image, and the CSS styling together and push it all out to external systems to ensure strict brand consistency.
Got it. So option D, a standard page export, is just way too heavy. You don't want an entire web page's code injected into an email.
Right, that would break the email client.
And option B, converting to a PDF, is just terrible practice for modern responsive emails. It has to be the experience fragment.
Spot on. The asset's HTTP API, which is option C, would just give you the raw image file, not the fully designed component. Experience fragments hold the design.
Okay, so we're pushing pure data to watches and fully designed fragments to emails. But the sheer volume of this content is staggering. I mean, humans cannot manually create, tag, and route all of these variations.
No, it's impossible.
Which leads us to the next massive theme of the exam, automation and cloud architecture. How do we get the system to do the heavy lifting?
This is where we solve the scale problem. Let's look at question 2.
All right, here's the scenario. A marketing team uploads thousands of images every week. They need to automatically categorize these images based on their visual content to improve search efficiency for external agencies. Which features should they use?
Okay.
Options: A, smart tagging, B, asset metadata schemas, C, static folders, or D, manual tagging. I mean, we can throw option D out the window immediately.
Absolutely. Manual tagging of thousands of images is just a recipe for human error and high turnover. Nobody wants that job.
Yeah.
Option C, static folders, just organizes files into directories. It doesn't actually analyze visual content. And option B, asset metadata schemas, is a distractor.
How so?
Well, a schema sets up the rules and the blank fields for data, but it doesn't actually execute the tagging process itself.
Leaving us with option A, smart tagging. This is powered by Adobe's AI, right?
Exactly, Adobe Sensei.
Yeah.
It automatically analyzes the pixels of an uploaded image and assigns relevant tags based on what it actually sees.
Wow.
Yeah. A picture of a beach is instantly tagged with sand, ocean, and summer. It drops the manual effort to near zero.
But wait, if the AI is analyzing thousands of high-resolution images, where's all that computing power coming from? Because if my core web server is busy analyzing photos, isn't my actual website going to slow down for my customers?
That leads perfectly into the architectural side of the exam. Let's look at question 6.
Okay, let me read the scenario for that. When moving to AEM as a cloud service, a customer notices that heavy asset processing tasks, like generating video thumbnails, are no longer handled by the core AEM instance. What service is now responsible for these tasks?
Right.
Options are A, Dynamic Media, B, Adobe Sensei, C, Brand Portal, or D, Asset Compute Service.
The correct answer is D, Asset Compute Service. Moving to the cloud changes the architecture entirely through something called fault domain awareness.
Ah, okay. Translating that from engineering speak, is this essentially a quarantine strategy?
A quarantine strategy.
Yeah, like if the heavy video processing crashes, it only takes down the sidecar processing system. It doesn't take down the main live website.
That is a phenomenal way to put it. Yes, exactly. In the old on-premise days, everything ran on the same exact server. So if someone uploaded a massive 4K video, the server's CPU would spike, and the live site would just suffer.
The pages would load slowly for everyone.
Exactly. By offloading that to a microservice, the Asset Compute Service, the fault, is isolated to a specific domain. Your live website's performance is completely protected.
That is incredibly elegant system design.
Yeah.
And just to clear up the other options, Dynamic Media option A is for rendering different image sizes on the fly, not the core processing isolation. And Brand Portal is just for distributing assets to agencies.
Exactly. Now, we've offloaded the machine tasks, but what about the human bottlenecks?
Oh, the workflows. Let's look at question 7. Here is the stem for that. A complex approval process requires that a workflow task is assigned to a specific manager automatically, but it's based on the value of a metadata field selected during the initial submission.
Okay.
Which workflow step type do we use? Options. A, process step, B, dynamic participant step, C, dialogue participant step, or D, container step. Now, I see the word automatically, so my brain just jumps to a process step. Option A.
It's a very common mistake. A process step is automated, yes, but it's primarily used for executing system operations, like running a background script or moving a file. It doesn't inherently route tasks to a human user based on variables.
Okay, well, what about option C, the dialogue participant step?
That one requires the current user to manually look at a list and pick the next person. It's not automatic at all. But option B, a dynamic participant step, evaluates logic at runtime.
How does that work in practice?
Imagine you submit an invoice into the system. The workflow checks the metadata. If the amount is over $10,000, it dynamically routes the approval to the VP of Finance. If it's under $10,000, it dynamically routes to a line manager.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah. You build the business rules once, and the system handles all the complex routing automatically.
It totally removes the friction.
Yeah.
All right, so we have built this massive, perfectly governed, highly automated machine. Now we have to let people actually use it. This brings us to our final theme for the exam: user experience, security, and SEO.
The ultimate goal of all this architecture, really.
Let's start with security. Question 4. A business requires that certain pages on their live website are only accessible to registered premium members after they log in. How do we do this?
Yep.
Options: A, content freeze; B, access control lists; C, closed user groups; or D, workflow scopes. Now, I know option B, access control lists, deals with permissions. Why wouldn't we just use those?
It's a vital distinction for the exam. Access control lists, or ECLs, are generally used on the back end. They dictate what your internal authors, marketers, and developers can see and edit within the authoring environment.
But the scenario specifies restricting pages on the live website for registered premium members.
Exactly. The front-end end users, precisely. For that, you use option C, closed user groups, or CUGs.
Okay.
This feature is specifically designed to restrict published content based on authenticated end user profiles. It is the standard architectural choice for gated content, like paywalls or premium subscription areas.
And option A, content freeze, is what?
Just for locking content versions before a big launch, so it's entirely irrelevant here.
Got it. Okay, speaking of getting those end users to the site in the first place, let's look at SEO with question 8, the scenario. A search engine optimization specialist wants specific promotional pages to be accessible via short, easy-to-remember web addresses that are completely independent of the internal site hierarchy.
SEO specialists love this.
Yeah, they do. The options are A, internal links; B, sitemaps; C, vanity URLs; or D, breadcrumbs.
The answer here is C, vanity URLs.
Okay, let me ask a mechanical question about this. Let's say I have a page buried deep in my site architecture. Something like mysite.com/2026 summer shoes running speedster.
That's a mouthful.
Right. And marketing wants the link to just be mysite.com/speedster. Are we actually physically moving the page in the back-end system to make that happen?
No, absolutely not. And that's really the beauty of the feature. If you physically move the page, you break the internal hierarchy, you mess up folder permissions. It's an absolute nightmare for governance.
No way.
A vanity URL simply creates a shortcut routing layer over the top. The page stays exactly where it belongs in the back end, but the user and the search engine crawlers get a clean, memorable address.
That is so much safer. And just to touch on the wrong answers, sitemaps, option B, are XML files for search engines, not human-readable links. Breadcrumbs, option D, are navigational trails on the page itself. So vanity URLs is the clear winner.
Exactly.
Which brings us to our final scenario, question 10. We got the user to the site with a short link. Now we want to make the site feel tailored to them.
Personalization testing.
Exactly. A digital marketer needs to simulate how a page looks for a specific visitor segment, for example, a first-time visitor browsing from London. They need to verify the personalized content is working before they launch. Which tool do they use?
Okay.
Options: A, Context Hub; B, Content Insight; C, Page Information; or D, Timeline View.
The correct answer is A, Context Hub.
How does Context Hub actually achieve that simulation, though?
Think of Context Hub as a collection of masks the author can wear. You never want to set up complex personalization rules and just, blindly hit publish, hoping they work.
That sounds incredibly risky.
It is. With Context Hub, the author can say to the system, apply the London mask and apply the first-time visitor mask. The page will dynamically rearrange itself right in the authoring environment, proving that your targeted banners or local pricing are firing correctly. It takes all the guesswork out of the process.
That's incredibly powerful. And obviously, Content Insight, option B, is for analytics after the fact. Timeline View is for version history. So Context Hub is the only active simulator. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the AD0-E121 exam materials. We will see you next time.